a living. We need money for everything, right? Everything means to buy food, to buy clothes, and all the other basic necessities of life, medicines, or any other basic necessity. So, the means by which we get this money is called making a living. That means by which we are earning a amount, a salary, is known as making a living. So, there are different methods of making a living. So, these different methods are known as occupations. So, in your school or anybody outside may ask you, what is your father? What work does he do? Or what is your mother? That means they are asking you what is their occupation. So you answer things like, my father is a businessman, my father is an engineer, my father is a doctor, etc. So there are different occupations in the society around us. So these occupations are classified into three sectors. Primary sector, and which type of activities come under the primary sector? Primary sector consists of those activities where people are always involved in extracting or harvesting things from the earth. That is, things involving activities involving primary sector consists of those activities where people are engaged in extracting or harvesting things from the mother earth. So what is the major activity that involves extracting activities from the earth? See, as we know, the major activity is agriculture, right? That is cultivating the crops. So farmers do the agriculture. Their occupation is agriculture. They cultivate the crops, different types of crops like cereals, pulses, vegetables, fruits, etc. They grow the plants and harvest them, and then those fruits of the harvest will be sold in the market, and thereby with the profits earned by selling those fruits they make a living. And what are the other activities which involve extracting things from the earth? See, fishing. Fishing is one more activity which comes under the primary sector. On the mother earth, there are 70% of the mother earth is water, right? It involves majority part is salt water and the little part is fresh water. So fishing is done both in fresh water as well as the salt water. So by fishing, the fishermen catch the fish and then sell them in the market and earn a living. By the profit they get, they earn a living. They make a living by selling the fish. That is one method. Next method is grazing. What is grazing? See, farmers or other peoples rear cattle, right? What do you mean cattle? Cattle means sheep, cow, buffalo, goats. All these things are domestic animals. They rear these animals. And these animals, what is the food for these animals? The grass, the plants growing on the surface of the earth. So when these animals go and feed on the grass, that process is known as the grazing. So when they eat the food, then they are able to produce the milk, right? Then what the farmers do, or the people who are domesticating these animals, what do? They extract the milk from these animals and sell them in the market and earn a living. So that is how by grazing also people are making a living. Then next comes mining. Mining means, coal. Coal is extracted from the surface of the earth. Not only coal, there are other minerals also, iron ore, granite. All these are extracted from the earth by digging the earth. And then we go and sell this coal, iron ore, granite in the market. And then people make a living by selling these metals, minerals, etc. Then there is forestry. People go and cut the wood from the forest and sell it in the market for the manufacturing of furniture, paper, etc. So forests also grow on the surface of the earth, right? So here also we are extracting wood from the surface of the earth. So that is how we are making a living by extracting things or harvesting things from the earth. So these people are always important for us because without these people we cannot survive. Why? Because if farmers don't grow the crops, they do not cultivate the crops, we do not get food. Animals depend on plants for their food. Same way, human beings also depend on plants for their food. See, if the farmers do not cultivate the crops, then how will we get the food, right? So that is how the primary sector people are always important in life. Next, moving on to the secondary sector. So secondary sector involves those activities which convert raw materials to manufactured goods. People who are involved in converting the raw materials into manufactured products come under the category of secondary sector. Stainless steel is the raw material, right? Stainless steel will be converted into a modified shape known as car. So in this image you can see car is being made from the stainless steel. Tertiary sector. So tertiary sector involves those activities that provide services to the people. So what do we mean by services to the people? Healthcare services. For example, healthcare services means hospitals, clinics which involve both government hospitals as well as the private hospitals. So rural livelihoods means people living in the rural areas. Rural areas, when I talk about rural areas or when I say the word rural areas, it means that people living in villages. So people living in villages, what is their most common occupation? You all know it, right? Agriculture is the most common occupation in the rural areas. They depend on farming practices. Farming practices means cultivation of crops, right from sowing the seeds, plowing the field, growing the plants and then harvesting the crops and then selling these crops in the market. So majority of the people living in the rural livelihoods depend on agriculture for making a living. Then apart from the agriculture, people in the rural areas also work as some other professions also. For example, they are involved in teaching, pottery. See, as shown in this image, we know that pots are made from the clay soil, right? So people of the villages make pots from the clay. These pots can be used for storing the water. And then people are always also involved in machining, shopkeeping, that is selling the groceries, and carpenter work, farming. So there are different kinds of farmers in this India. India is a vast country, right? And there are many thousands of villages in India where people are mostly dependent on farming. They make their living by the farming. So here let's learn something more about the farming activity. So farmers are always classified into three types. The first type is the large farmer. Large farmer, as the name suggests, he owns large tracts of land. He uses modern technology for all his farming practices. What do we mean by using the modern technology? Modern technology means using of machines rather than the hands, like tractors, harvesting machines and chemical fertilizers. How do these benefit the farmer? They increase the yield of the farm. What do we mean by yield of the farm? Yield means nothing but the quantity of the fruit which they have produced or the quantity of the seed what they have produced. And because these farmers own a large area of land, they are a bit on the rich side of the society. That is the reason they do not work on their own fields. They employ others for the work of their fields. They are like the owners and they employ some other farmers to work on their fields. And these farmers grow many of the cash crops. Cash crops means cotton and sugarcane. So now you have understood about the large farmers. Marginal farmers. These are the second group of farmers. They till their land with the help of their own hands or with the help of animals. So as you see in this image, the land is being sown with the help of animals. Sometimes these farmers also go and work on their other farms. That means they go and work on the other farms to fetch more amount. Landless farmers. That means these farmers do not have their own land. A living, they go and work on other people's land. Urban livelihoods. When I say urban livelihoods, it means people living in towns and as well as the cities. There are definitely variety of jobs available for them to make a living. And as you know, the cities and the district headquarters, the towns have many big industries which are involved in the manufacturing processes. So towns and cities have many manufacturing industries, and these manufacture variety of goods like plastic goods, clothes, ready-made garments, electronic home appliances, paper, etc. Because these factories spread over a large scale of land, they require large amount of employees to work with them. So these factories employ up to almost thousands of people. And how do these workers work there? They operate the machines. So how do these people actually make a income? See, suppose they have produced a toy, for example, for 10 rupees, and then when it goes into the market, they sell it for 30 rupees. So the 20 rupees is their profit. So this 20 rupees will be procured by the owner of the factory. See, petroleum industry is a big industry, right? Petroleum involves lot of refining process. Where do we get petroleum from? Below the oceans there is petroleum. Services. Services means the public sector, where all the services work for the benefit of the people. So this service industry employs more than half of the people working in the city, because the service industry is very big. What are the examples of the service industries? Banks, railways, postal department, telephone services, both landline as well as the mobile service providers. So these employ millions of people across the country. There are also shopkeepers and business organizations which maintain the flow of goods and services in the city. See, how is their income generated? Their income depends on the profits they make from their sales. BPOs are also known as the call centers. See, nowadays in all the metropolitan cities there are many call centers, right? For example, Genpact, Tata, Wipro, etc., Dell, Deloitte. So all these call centers are also known as the big IT companies which employ thousands of people. So all these call centers also provide good employment to the people of the cities, and they are centralized offices which handle large volumes of information by telephone. So all the business in these organizations occurs only by telephone. The farmers move from the rural areas to the urban areas in search of job to earn a living. That means to earn an income. So this movement is known as the migration. The movement from the rural areas to the urban areas is known as the migration. So there are many reasons for migration. For example, let's see 4 reasons. Lack of educational opportunities in rural areas. See, in villages they may not have education up to the graduate or the postgraduate level, or they may not have professional colleges. Lack of health facilities. See, definitely in cities we have big corporate hospitals, right? Definitely for health reasons also people move from rural areas to the cities. And then seasonal agriculture. Since I told you, if there is no rainfall over a period of long time, then definitely the farmer will go into loss, right? And then he will move from the village to the city. And then lack of employment in these rural, the opportunities for job will be less, right? It is a small place, there will not be many activities there. So lack of employment in these villages also is a reason for which people migrate to their cities for making a living. Unemployment. Unemployment creates a situation where there is wastage of human resource. That means even though there are many educated people, there will not be so many jobs. So unemployment affects the growth of economy. The economic rate of the country will definitely be affected because of unemployment. National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. National Food for Work Program. Here food for work means if they work, the government provides them lunch free of cost. That is one program. And there is one more, Prime Minister's Rozgar Yojana. That means Prime Minister's scheme for the unemployed people. And there is also introduction of self-help groups. Self-help group means there is Dwakra group. where the women of the society can sell their food items what they produce in the house or any other handloom items or any other clothes in the market. So for production and selling of these goods, the government gives them loan at a very low interest rate. That is known as the self-help groups. So these are some of the schemes formulated by the government to eradicate completely the unemployment.